Yes, it is.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dan Gutierrez.
Morning, Marty Keller.
Good to see you. Welcome, everybody, to the Intentional Living podcast, where we discuss creating the life that we would really, in our deepest hearts and souls, like to be living, and dealing with recovering from childhood trauma and its effects on our lives as adults. The theme of our podcast is based on something that Socrates said a couple of years ago. He said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on creating the new." And we were chatting just before we began the podcast about that in terms of experience, creating new experiences, that change is the result of some intentional choices that we make to have something be different in our lives. And as opposed to compulsiveness, which is where our traumatized little child keeps producing the same effect over and over and over again, even if the external circumstances look different, the inner energetic state is the same. And so we're recording this the day before Halloween, and there's also that whole question of the inner fright, the inner demons. And I know that you've got some thoughts on that. So, what springs to your mind when we talk about creating the new here, new experiences?
Yeah, it's been my experience. Though uh, I was going to say, yeah, though limited to myself. So I can only speak for myself. How about that? So that's the good news. I'm not talking about everybody else, but um, I've been around a lot of people, and same principle holds true. For me to have a different experience in life, I need to have a different experience than the one I've had in the past. Um, and that's where the intentional living process comes in. By setting intentions, we see the present moment, which is all we have, to have a different experience in the future. Um, by validating where I'm at, my current reality, stating my truth, gives me access to what's truly at the core of maybe my wounding or my desires. And then I create an intention to support that desire or a need or to grow and start planting the seed, create a foundation to have new experiences so that my brain can use those new experiences to add to the subconscious pool of information and change that as well. Um, and my addiction, one of the things I kept telling myself was that everybody is an addict. Everybody is on something. And for me, that was my experience. Being an addict, everybody I knew had an addiction. One way or another, they had a dependency on a substance, whether it be gambling, alcohol, drugs, and that was my experience. I hadn't been in an environment where people were sober. So my experience was everybody's high, everybody's addicted, and then when I got into recovery and I found sobriety, um, that new experience or having that experience of sobriety, not everybody's an addict. Not everybody has got an addiction that they're currently in that's running their lives. But there's a lot of people who are recovering from it. So having those two experiences, changed my reality. Like not everybody's running around addicted, high. Um, it gave me a different outlook on the world. Um, that's just an example. But for me to create the change that I've been looking for, I'm trying to seed my present moment. It's like exercise. You don't exercise for the present moment. when you first start, you're exercising so you get stronger, you have a better cardiovascular system. So in the future, your body would be performing better. But the simple fact that you're exercising in today changes your future. So exercise is like setting intentions. I set the intention to change what's coming down the future, to have a different experience. Different experiences create different outcomes, and uh, I can start seeing a change, a difference, um, and that supports me continuing on with setting new intentions for the life that I want, and repeat and repeat. That's what's for me. That's the power of the intentional living process. Um, I was uh, having conversation about my need to know about how this works. And having the answer is going to create create the world that I want. So I keep finding out that the having the answer is not the solution. Having the experience of things changing is the solution. I don't need to know I don't need to know how things actually work, but if I stay in the process long enough and I create the intentions, there will be a difference down the road. Um, and that's the experience of having something change based on my intentions. That's what keeps the motivation going to continue the practice, evidence, as it were, um, and keep on going. Um, Speaking of Halloween, right? I have been in a situation where, I've been afraid of things jumping out of the woodwork and scaring the hell out of me. Um, the thoughts in my head about what's going to happen, it is like a horror movie at times. I'm conjuring up all these terrible things are going to happen, and so I stay in that experience. I never move outside of it. So I recreate the same things that I'm thinking about. And so I don't have the new experience and my life doesn't change. So, well, yeah, I've almost got it here. I'm kind of like I'm weaving a tapestry right now. I'm just now getting back to the original script. Um, the experience comes before the wisdom.
Yep.
If the wisdom doesn't come before the experience, and for me, I was like that guy on I can't remember some movie where show me the money, right? Show me that it
Tom
works.
Cruise.
Okay, you show me that it works, or I'm not going to do it. What do you think? I'm some kind of fool? Okay, well, what happens if I can't? I can show. I can't. You can show me your evidence, and I still won't believe you because I don't have the experience of it working. So it doesn't do me any good to say, show me the money. It'd be nice, but the feeling that we're after, or the feeling that I've been after, is stress relief, pain relief, feeling safe, and me knowing how things actually work doesn't get me the feeling that I want. For me, it's been an illusion. Um, I chose to learn that lesson. So now I'm focusing on creating the experience that I want. How do I create the experience that I want? Through accountability practice and setting intentions is how I create the new experience. That's
Because
the
those
money.
because those new intentions are about the new experience that we want.
Yes, that's the
So we
seed I keep planting.
so it's like we just said at the beginning, we stop concentrating on the old, which is it's just that obsession with the compulsive feelings that we are experiencing, and instead we focus on the new, we may not know what that is in the moment, but we can say what we want it to be and use the power of intention to draw it to us. And
Correct.
just the statement of something different begins to create something different. Even if we
Absolutely.
have that little voice in our head goes, well, you'll never have that.
Yeah. Would I be willing to consider that I will and set the intention and see what happens? I will not die from this experience.
Exactly.
I mean, I used to think that was the worst thing that could happen would be me dying. But the reality is I do this and I still wind up living. That's an even greater hell than dying. Dying is a relief. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. So and it's like, how do I get myself to that state where I'm willing to try? I could either do it out of desperation, I could do it out of fear, or I could do it out of choice. Um, you don't have to hit rock bottom. I mean, I believe that's a myth. Uh, it's been a myth in my experience. You can change at any time. You don't have to hit rock bottom. And for a lot of people, being coerced or forced to change uh, may be the motivation to do it, but it doesn't have to be. Um, Coming out of an addiction and stuff, and your life's unmanageable, and you got to do something, otherwise you're going to wind up in a worse spot, and you may lose your life, be incarcerated, um, or worse somewhere. So that little bit of motivation of fear, and you can label it fear or motivation, prompts a lot of people to change. Um, it wasn't until I was willing to change that things started changing. Um, I wanted to have a new experience, so I was willing to listen to. I do believe I set the intention. I intend to be open, willing, and trusting. So now, what do you have to say? Okay. What do you have to say? Okay. I'm no longer stuck in I know. And because if I know, I'm going to generate the same experience from my limited viewpoint. So nothing changes again. No. Creating the new experience. And one of the cornerstones of creating a new experience and supporting my willingness is to create a safe internal environment with myself. Uh, for those of the viewers out there that understand secure attachment, um, I'm discovering that the way for me to get what I want, feel safe, is to create a secure attachment to myself by practicing the same guidelines. Always there, never gonna leave you, support you forever. You're whole, perfect, incomplete. All these things allow me to feel safe, and when I feel safe, I know that I can go out and I'd be willing to take a chance, take a risk, uh, set an intention for the life that I want to have. So these all play together, but the whole well, my what I do for myself is I start seeding the present moment with intentions so I can have the future that I want, and notice what happens, what's different as time goes by, because now I'm focused on creating a life of joy, health, and abundance. And I just pay attention to see what shows up and make adjustments.
It's interesting that in contemplating this idea of the importance of creating difference. And notice we don't say better, just different. It could be better, but let's just start with something different. The the core of the accountability practice is noticing, the capacity to notice something that I wasn't noticing before. And that itself is a new experience. And oftentimes we, because we do this practice in group, we do this with other people who are similarly committed to creating a new experience, a new life, focusing on the future rather than on the past. Um, for me anyway, the noticing came as I just started noticing other people noticing. It wasn't necessarily when I had my own inner ahas so much as noticing that other people were having this experience, which invited me without necessarily intending to, just inviting me to do the same. It's like, how did that person do that? How did that person figure that out about him or herself? And once I could tap into that, and every human being has this capacity. Every human being has the power to create focus and notice what's going on in his or her inner experience. Then automatically there was a different experience. Even though, as you said, I didn't have the wisdom yet to name it, to understand it, and much less to intentionally apply it, but it didn't matter. The shift had begun because I was creating a new experience with the help of other people, for sure, and that's okay. I don't have any problem with that. And so it's fascinating to me in light of the insight that you're sharing that to think about the intentional living process starts with creating a new experience, oftentimes with the help of other people, not necessarily because we generated ourselves. But once we learn to generate it, we can then start generating it ourselves.
Absolutely. So one of the greatest things that that intentional living gives you, there's several ways that uh, activate this ability to introspection, right? Um, is one of the ways is to consistently and constantly create a habit of asking yourself what it is you want, what it is you want right now, what it is you want. Or I know you and I did this for a while when we first started the recovery. Is every time we'd see each other, it was like, "What'd you learn about yourself?"
Right.
Well, you don't need somebody else. You can you can develop that inquiry. It's what'd you learn about yourself today? Um, so we train ourselves to pay attention. So it doesn't have to be at the end of the day. It gets into the reticular activating system. So when I do learn something about myself, there's an awareness to it, and it's like, oh, this is different today. Or you ask yourself on a consistent basis, what's different? How am I different today? What's different about me? With no blame and judgment. What did I learn about myself today? What it is I want based on where I'm at. All these are ways to generate the data so I can be accountable for where I'm at and then set the intention. Um, the good news is that I can do this. I can use the accountability tree. I can use it all day long if I choose to. I you know you That's one of the things is that how often should I use the accountability tree? And it's the answer for me is as often as you're aware that you can. Now, how do I do that? Well, I ask myself, what did I learn today? What did I learn about myself in that last meeting I had? Well, you know, I was arrogant, controlling, and needy. Okay, that's the first step, the truth. Take a deep breath, breathe. What it is I want to be. And before I go into the next meeting, what did I learn? I'm arrogant, controlling, and needy. All right. What do I want to be? Was it supporting of my mission that to create connection, harmony, and trust? Okay. No. All right. So what do I want to do? how do I want to behave for the next meeting? How do I want to show up in my, in my heart center here? I intend to show up with gratitude, acceptance, and openness, and go into the next meeting, do the meeting, come out. What happened? What did I learn about myself in this meeting? And it's like, wow, gratitude, openness, and willingness sure makes a huge difference. Okay, that's what I learned. What do I want? I want to build my capacity to have generosity, openness. I intend to be generous and open. And on to the next. And it's the repetition. It's implementing the accountability practice uh, in your life. And how do you do that? I intend to use the accountability practice in all phases of my life. Boom. And all right, let's go. I'm seeding the path. I'm seeding the future by creating intentions in the present. That's what we're talking about, Socrates. Putting my energy and creating the new. And the new is the intention for what it is I want. And well, one more thing. When I create the intention for gratitude and openness, what I've started doing is I give myself a few seconds or a minute to actually feel what gratitude and openness is, what I want it to feel like, and just sit in it. What is gratitude and openness gonna? I'm asking for it. How about I sit in what I want it to be? Have the experience in your body as well as the thought in your mind. It's called visualization. And I think that's the next step in this is to go there at the same time. Create the intention and have the experience in your body like you've already been there. Your mind doesn't know that it's not where it's at. It doesn't know if it's in the future or the past. But if I want to have a different experience, why don't I give myself the experience of what I want by feeling it and thinking it like I've already been there. So
You know,
it's
it's
not new
interesting.
when I get, yeah.
It's interesting that the human mind, or more accurately, the human organism, actually has the power to generate experience on command. I mean, it's something we have to learn. It's because we do it without intention, or we do it without awareness. You mentioned earlier that the old um, compulsive energy where we have catastrophic ideas and thoughts, and the minute we have a catastrophic idea, our body adrenaline starts pouring into the body itself, and we then have that sensation of heightened excitement and so forth. And it all just came from a thought. It wasn't necessarily because there was catastrophe, that like some kind of truck looming down on us on the highway or something.
Yeah.
It just was a thought. Now, one of the things that makes this so interesting, and the reason I love the accountability tree, reason number 9,500, is that it relies upon this ability that we have to generate experience or sensation in the body. That's what I heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if I say I intend to experience peace, I can actually generate a sense of calmness, serenity in my body in the moment. I may not always be able to pull it off. The adrenaline I'm experiencing may be overwhelming in the moment, but sometimes I can. And it's a good practice. I agree with you. It's a good practice to um, work on that. And when I'm working the accountability tree, which is this process for the newcomer, the accountability tree, it's just the when you lay it out on paper, it looks like a tree. So it just goes from top to bottom. As Dan said, what's the truth of my experience? Feel it, be with it, and then ask ourselves, what do we want? And because we've already felt something, I'm feeling shame, I'm feeling fear, and whatever the actual body sensation is that I just labeled it. We talked about this in our last podcast,
Yeah.
learning to feel without labeling as best we can. Um,
Yeah.
but that that is generating, it's a new experience. So it's the basis of our conversation today is about generating new experience as a way to create the life we want. And in the generation of that new experience, we, over time, as you just said, we come to recognize that we have some power to do this through intention, through choice in the moment. And it's a practice. It takes, like all these things, excuse me, it takes time. And as you said, because the way that this little practice works, we call it the accountability tree. It usually, once we start working it, it doesn't take all that long. I mean, if you held a
Right.
stopwatch every time you did the accountability practice for yourself, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, minute and a half, depending on the intensity of the feeling or uh, the commitment that we have to hide from ourselves what we're actually experiencing to get into the truth at the beginning.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long, and that's one of the reasons we can do it all day because it's
Right.
simple, it's straightforward, and it does generate difference.
Right. And that's why we go to meetings, just to watch people do it, and you can see the experience, you can see the relief that comes from owning your truth in someone else. But as you watch it, you also have the experience of that. And a lot of the times we're already, when we put ourselves in that moment to state our truth and to feel, the wisdom is in the experience of giving ourselves permission to be with the feeling that comes up. And when I find a lot of times is people are, when they answer the question what they want, they're already in that state that they want to have. I haven't seen anybody or worked with anybody that has had a highly emotional experience and then ask for, I want to go back and be agitated. I want to be in discomfort. I've never had anybody do that. They always ask for peace, safety, uh, calmness, connection, and but the words come after you sit in it. You stay with that, the emotion, and then you have the ability. You develop the ability to translate that into words, but you're already feeling it, and then you translate it into words, and then you speak it out loud.
Yeah,
We are we
I like to say the mind's job is to reflect on what's already happened.
Yeah, and it's just developing that ability to feel safe in your emotional body, so your brain can consciously think about it maybe in a new way, uh, you know, and create a different experience for yourself and repeat. Um, and yeah, it could happen. Change could happen in one intention, or you may have to create intentions continuously. Um, but that for me is also the trap. How long do I have to do this? How many times do I do it? Um, Now the question, I don't have that question anymore. It's just that I do it, and I don't count, and I don't have any expectations. I have a knowing that it's going to work, and just be present to it for me, and just
Well,
continue with the process. Have faith, maybe that's the word.
maybe because we're running out of time here, but maybe
Oh,
we can talk about that next time because it goes back to what you said earlier, which is that wisdom eventually comes after we've had these experiences, and we now have we have a string or pattern that we can reflect upon. We can see it. We can see what happened. We have a history, and we can then begin to derive lessons from that. And so we can um, learn something from the experiences that we're doing, and then we can apply those lessons. Again, creating new experience, endlessly creating new experience. And so, for example, the notion that I no longer need to ask myself the question, how long do I need to do this, is a wisdom observation. And the capacity to say, or the willingness to say, I don't need to know that. I'm just being present with myself right now, comes from reflection after months and years of doing this work, and realizing that that's that's a better way, or a more useful way of being with yourself, or oneself, not just you personally, but all
Right.
of us. So, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah. If you want to ask yourself any question about anything, how's it working for me? Am I getting what I want? How's it working for me? And create the intention. I intend to do something new. I intend to do something different. I intend to be open, willing, and trusting. That's it.
So,
And more.
yeah, for now. So, thanks for your time, and I'd like to let everybody know who's watching that if you'd like to experience the accountability practice in group setting, which is the best way to get started, there's 4 different accountability practice meetings every week. Dan facilitates one on Monday nights, and I facilitate one on Wednesday afternoons. Our colleague Rodney facilitates one on Thursday night, and the Grand Poobah, who created all this stuff, John Donovan, has a meeting on Saturday mornings, all Pacific time. Information about specific times and the Zoom rooms are all on Zoom. The Zoom room addresses will be at the end of the podcast, so please feel free to take advantage of that opportunity, and come join us, and check it out for yourself. So, Dan, thank you very much, as always, for your wisdom,
Thanks for
and
having me here to share
and
it.
of course, and have a great Halloween. We'll see you at the next one.
All right, I
Bye.
will. All right.